Let's do another simple tutorial. I'm going to try and keep this as simple and as short as possible. We've been covering how to do castle builds in the previous videos. I've showed you how to do a basic tree, some basic rocks, imitation grass, etc. So today we're going to show how we can do like a wood grain that you would use on shields, on planks, boards, and I'm going to show you what you can do with that texture on a board once you've actually created it, how you can use it over and over and over again. In case you don't know, I'm using Shapelab Max. This is a powerful VR sculpting app. As you can see, I'm waving my hands around, and it has menus and different tools that you might see in other sculpting programs like Blender or Maya or whatever you choose to use. This app continues to improve, and I've used it for a couple of years, and I always like what they offer. Every couple of months they have an update. I've linked it in the description below. So let's get started. The first thing that I'm gonna do is delete this sphere. I'm just gonna introduce a simple plank type shape that we can work with very easily. Now notice the polygons. The polygons are very important. We need these to be a lot smaller, and you can see it's not uniform. It's not the same type of polygons on the edges. If I were to stretch this out, you can see it starts to become similar to the outside, and that's because all we did was we squished that one axis. We squished the Z-axis, and that's how this program works currently. So I like to center all my stuff. There we go. So we're gonna go ahead and do a remesh, and we're just gonna subdivide. So subdivide takes whatever's existing and it breaks it down into smaller ones. I'm doing 100. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's do 100 more. Okay, that's good. Let's do 100 more. All right. Now you can see the problem is on the side we have many, many more polygons, so that's gonna use up more memory. So you have to keep that in mind. If you don't want this kind of rectangular looking shape and the increasing number of polygons on the sides that we're not even gonna use, what you can do is you can remesh it, and this is very useful. I do this all the time now, and you'll see a lot of other artists in like 2D software for 3D modeling like Blender. You'll see in their speed sculpts, they'll do this, right? What they're doing is they're remeshing it. There's a quad remesh, but the quad remesh is very slow. I want it to work faster, but it just does not, even on the PC. It's a little too intensive, so I usually lose my patience, so I've just resorted to the voxel remesh, and I like how it projects it onto there for you. So that's 100. So what I've done is created the same type of polygons all around as best as possible. You can see it doesn't get it quite perfectly. It has to make some compromises, and if you care about straight edges, in this example we don't need to worry about that, but you can see it does deviate from the original structure, and it kind of rounds it off down here. And that's just the program doing its best to try and give you what you want. You can see even the original one here, it's a little bit round at the bottom, which is pretty interesting. You can fix that, you can chop off the sides, but like I said, it doesn't matter. And what I'm gonna do is open up either the crease tool or the standard tool. Let's start with the crease tool. Now to make a wood grain, in case you don't know, let me see if I can add this image. All right, so here's a plank of wood. With the wood grain, you can see it has these cracks in it. What we really need to focus on is creating this texture here, this illusion here. That's just gonna be our reference. We're not gonna do an exact copy, and our style is probably gonna turn out to be a little more cartoony. If you haven't seen my previous video where I showed you the alpha mask pack that I created, it has sort of a rounder feel to it, and a lot of things that are sculpted, in my opinion, seem to have that trend because we're working with these rounded type of tools and brushes, and it's just one of the effects of working with polygons. The more you increase the number of polygons, the higher detail, the sharper edges you're likely gonna get. So I'm just using the crease tool. I have this alpha mask selected here. This is just a like a starburst right here. It's called a circle. It's included with Shapelab, and it kind of diffuses, it dissipates towards the edge. So it's really concentrated where that white spot is. So I'm just gonna go here, and we're just gonna try and mimic that, but we're gonna probably add a little artistic freedom to it. Okay. You see that? Okay. Don't worry about how deep it looks. And it doesn't have to be 100% accurate, realistic wood. Okay, and also wood has kind of a curly cue, or it has this like circular thing going on. Helicopter time. All right, so now we can go in here and we can kind of get it like this. So just kind of hit it like this, or you can do the trigger on and off and see what kind of effects you get out of that. So we have the overall structure of the wood grain pattern, and it doesn't look very interesting at first, but once you start dividing it up with these little brush strokes here, you start to create a really, really interesting wood grain effect that your audience, or you know, whatever you're making this for, is probably going to be convincing enough. And don't worry if you get too cut down into it. Actually, we kind of want that. We're gonna go over it in a minute and smooth it so it looks nice and clean and it makes a little more sense to the viewer. So just a few more strokes here. But you can see on the end here, it really has a nice kind of wood effect. Now, if you cut real wood, it's not going to have, you know, these very, very deep grooves in it. This is more of, like I said, a cartoony style effect, but I'm just showing you what you can do with just one brush. This is one tool, the crease tool, with one alpha mask that's included. If I turn it off, let's see what we get. See, it's more, it's less concentrated. Let me turn down the fall off. And you see how it's like more, it's like if you put your finger through it, you see how it's just fatter. That's why I really like that alpha mask. You could make your own, you could download one, but I really like this starburst. Gives a really nice effect. So you might want to change the sizing of it, the fall off. The fall off is just, you know, how much it dissipates. So it's a dissipating pattern, and then you can make it dissipate. Okay, and if you want to concentrate it, you can see it's more concentrated there. If you push the B button on the Metaquest controllers, you can invert it. So instead of pushing it down out of the way, you can bring it up and raise it up. So you might want to vary your texture that way to create a really interesting wood grain effect, and then alternate by hitting that B button and just make this really, really texturized thing. And like I said, don't worry about, you know, how ridiculous it looks. You're going for the idea of the thing. In sculpting, we don't get caught up with the details. That is a big beginner mistake. I do it all the time when I'm doing faces. I focus on the details first before the structure. And you can see here, I really don't like the way that this looks. It looks like an R. Yeah, we'll leave it in there. It's kind of interesting. Okay, boom. But yeah, in the wood, you'll see like it goes in these curves and just all kinds of interesting stuff going on. That looks pretty cool. Wouldn't you agree? It looks like an R. I'm gonna leave it in there. So you can see the other side is blank, and to make it look like wood, let's just change the color a little bit. Again, you can do this very easily. So I've selected this kind of flesh tone almost, but the results usually look different. There's metalness, there's roughness, you know, if you want it shiny. So obviously we want it very rough. We don't need it metal, and we don't need it glowing, so we don't need emission. So we're just gonna fill the entire object, and then I'm gonna deselect it, and I'm gonna turn off the wireframe because I can't see the color. Boom. Okay, so that's what we get. That's a very fleshy looking color. Okay, so now we can stretch this. We can do whatever we want. See? I've made a board, I've made a plank. And you could use that to make a, you know, a fence. You can clone it, turn on the angle snap so it doesn't fly all over the place and it goes straight up and down. Okay, boom. We'll do another one. Okay, pretty cool, huh? It's starting to look like a railroad almost. And then if you wanted to have some variation, you can make, you know, one a little bit longer, and then you could have this one, you know, maybe a little bit shorter and narrower, maybe shifted. Okay, things like this are gonna make your sculpts look more interesting. So I hope that was interesting. And like I said, you can take the smooth tool and you can change, make sure your strength isn't too high, otherwise you're gonna get rid of everything. The fall off, you might have to vary that. So you can see the strength is focused in the middle here, and the fall off is all of that larger sphere that's surrounding it. And so if I select this one and I hit it, can you see that it's starting to smooth? Do you see that? The detail's gone. So this is, where's before? Before, okay. After, kind of significant. So that'll make a big deal. And if you're noticing it, it's a little too deep, it's a little too grooved for your 3D printable, you're gonna need supports, it's gonna look terrible, then you can go in and do that. Personally, I like to use resin printers more often these days, so this would be not a big deal if I printed it in the correct orientation. As long as I didn't have this facing the bottom or, you know, like this, it would print perfectly fine. That is how you make a wood plank in VR, and you can imagine what you could use this for. You could put a bunch of them together. I promise this was gonna be a short video. I lied. I wanna show you, I just wanna show you one more thing. Actually, you know what? Let me get rid of these two, and I'll show you again. All right, so then we have our wood. Now, it looks the same, right? It looks very boring. It's exactly the same. I think I have an extra in there. Do I have an extra? Okay. You don't want that. You don't want everything to look uniform. So what you could do is bring up the context menu, and then you do symmetry, and then you do flip object. So this would be the Y side. I can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but if I flip it, see it flips. Okay, so I have it on that side, and then this one, I'm gonna keep it that way, but I'm gonna flip it. Hold on. There. So I flipped it a few times on its axis, so that part is actually up here now. Okay, so that just helps, you know, get rid of the monotony of it. People will start to notice patterns. All right, so I just want them a little overlapped, and then I'm gonna join them all. I'm gonna union all of them with a Boolean. The Boolean function is amazing. So I'm just going through this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my other tutorials. I have showed so much, and they're just waiting for you. And they're worth a watch. They're actually very watchable. I'm pretty proud of them. All right, so if you're gonna make a shield, right? You would do whatever, let's make a round shield. Reduce the roundness. Go. So I made this shape, and I'm just going to position it here, and I can stretch it out if I need to. Let's take a look at the polygons before we do our operation. So you see how many more polygons are on the wood compared to this ring? It's gonna cause issues. So what we have to do is we have to subdivide that ring. Maybe let's do the voxel remesh just like we did. 100%, there we go, tiny little squares. I might need to subdivide these one more time, but let's see how it does. Sometimes it cooperates, sometimes they play nicely together. So I'm gonna Boolean, I'm keeping the, I want the wood to remain in the center. Oh, I'm also going to keep the ring. So I'm gonna make a duplicate. I'm gonna hit the clone. Okay, and then I'm gonna hide that second one that I just made. All right, now I'm gonna do the Boolean. So I'm gonna keep the wood, and I'm gonna subtract the ring. See that? We have a perfect circle. Now you would use this circle and you could make a shield out of it. You just have to get rid of these. I mean, you can go around and you could stamp them out like you go around and do this. Okay, it's kind of tedious and you might get errors. Oh, look, you can take a chunk out. That looks kind of cool. Like somebody hit it with a sword. You can also go back. I'm doing the undo button. You can also go back, and instead of this torus, we create a outer radius torus that covers, you know, the entire outside. Do you see what I'm getting at here? And let's make it tall enough. Okay, so it's thick enough. So now we're really surrounding the entire outside with this big donut. We're gonna remesh it. I know this video is going on, but this is pretty cool, I think. It's pretty cool that I can do this so quickly with my hands and no experience. Subtract. Okay, boom, it did it. It was good enough. Look at that. So you can see where I overlapped. There's gonna be some overlap here with the polygon. Some people don't mind that. Some people would want that. It looks like the planks are together. Some people who are crazy perfectionists like myself, we would take another disc. We would take another cylinder, and actually it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It could be this big, it doesn't matter. And we're gonna make sure that this shield is flat. Okay, so I just zeroed in all the axis and all the rotation. Then I'm gonna do the same with this one, watch. See that? And then rotation, boop. So I have to find out, it's the x-axis, so I would wanna rotate that 90 degrees. What's another way to do that? Okay, turn on the angle snap, make sure it's like 45 or 90 degrees, and then hit the Y button, and then you can just do that. That was one snap. Pretty cool. But you can see it's off kilter. I don't know why it does that sometimes. See, it's got a 9. Oh, I entered that. Okay, so you hit the Y button, and boom. Just one snap, that's all it takes. Now you can just put this wherever you want. It doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle. Okay, so we need more polygons for our cylinder. You know the drill. You're gonna be an expert at this by the end of this video. You'll be making all kinds of wood stuff. All right, and it does, I mean, if you want it like really thick, you can leave it that way. Especially if you're printing this small, if you're gonna scale it down, you're gonna lose detail as you scale it down on your printer. But yeah, sky's the limit. So I'll just put it there, and then I'll do the Boolean. The original is gonna be blue, that's the one we keep. And then the subtractive one is the pink, the secondary one. Boom, subtract, and it did it very nicely. So now you can see we have a perfectly meshed, beautiful back. And you can see it, the way it calculated its best around the outside. And if that bothers you, you can always push this into Blender and post, and you can have at it. You can be as perfectionist as you want, but as an artist, I'm gonna tell you, you want to go for what we call ish. All right, another artist taught me that word ish. It's a Dr. Seuss word. You may have read the books. And ish saves you a lot of time because all you're doing is creating an illusion. So there you go, there's your shield. All right, you have a nice ring around it. And what I did, you remember when I had that pack? All I did, I created a flat shape here, and then I put a ball on top of it, like that. Oops. Like that, okay? And then I combine the two. And then maybe add a little silver color. Let's make it like white, and then we'll turn on the metalness. And we'll turn down the roughness. Look at that. Boom. I doused it. And we're going to do the same for this, but we're going to make it a little darker. So, pretty cool, huh? And let's see if we can center that. Oops. Oops. I think this is good enough. I'm not going to mess with centering all the geometries. Now, if that is a little too goofy, all you have to do is smush it a little. You can smush it just like that and then drop it in there. Boom. Okay. That is your basic 3D printable shield. And if you needed to put a strap on the back, oh man, I'm getting out of control here. I know, I promise you could just go. I mean, you can go right now. That'll be fine. You just gotta promise to come back. Instead of the tentacle, watch what happens when you do the tentacle, okay? The tentacle's meant mostly for like pulling it out like that. It's not really meant for turning. So what I like to do is, if I know I'm gonna make a strap, I'm gonna do a torus. I'm going to reset all that, sheesh. I'm going to choose brown. Okay, turn off the metalness, turn off the roughness. We need more brown than that. Okay, I'm gonna make that shape. And we don't need a chocolate donut, but we do need a non-rounded, okay, non-rounded like thing, right? Like that. I mean, you could do it as simple as, turn off the snap. You could do it as simple as that. You know, it's up to you how crazy you want it to be. Okay, it's not centered, it doesn't have to be. And a lot of these shields will have like 2 of these, right? And then what you could do is you can turn on symmetry. So I have it on that. It's local symmetry, okay? X-axis or whatever. And you can just, you know, flatten it. You can misshape it. You can do whatever you need to do. This one, I think the secondary one is a little smaller and like that. All right. And if those edges are too sharp, you can go in and hit it with the smooth tool, obviously. It's not doing it. But I might need to change the polygon. There we go. It'll just print better. It'll not be as sharp if you're on a resin printer. That can cause some issues. Now, keep in mind, I don't want these sticking out down here, so guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna make a cylinder. Actually, you know what? Let's just do a quick chop job. Turn on the snapping again. Turn off symmetry. And I'm just gonna come down here and just do it by hand. I'm just gonna guesstimate artist secret weapon. Okay, and then select that one. Boom. Okay, let's turn off the wireframe. Now I'm going to combine this. The reason I don't put straps on mine is because a lot of model makers, they'll do that after the fact. But there it is, right there, boom. And then if you want to union everything together or join it or whatever, you just proceed to do so. Although I recommend saving the unjoined, ununioned file first. Save that as a project, and then save a new project with the combined version. Because sometimes you might realize you made a mistake. This isn't centered perfectly. It's bothering you, and you go back and you can fix that. So that's how we used wood grain. Look at that wood grain. That looks pretty good. Actually, you know what? Let's turn off the lights. We turn off the lights. Let's see what we get. You can start to see more shadows. Wow, look at that. Can you see that? Interesting, okay. This is really gonna help you to figure out if you think that's adequate or too sharp or whatever. And you can, you know, create texture on it. You can create dings on it. Let's do a real simple ding job. All right. We're just gonna take this square, turn off the snapping. Ugh. And we're just gonna ding it up. Ding, ding, ding. See how it's been chopped? Look how sick that looks. This does not take hardly any skill, you guys. You can totally do this. Oh man, I'm loving the way that this is turning out. This looks so good. I hope it looks good on the video. That's a little too square. Sharp angles only, right? Let's make this skinnier. Oh, look at that. Too skinny. Yeah, you can make it like cracked. Ching. Ting. That is so sick. Like, look at that. You can make like super microscopic dings on it. If we drag it, you put dings on here. Actually, let me show you something real quick. First of all, it's looking sick. Second of all, oh, I'm missing one right here. It looks a little awkward, a little unbalanced, right? Sometimes unbalanced is balance, but more often than not, yeah. The odds of somebody hitting this side are the same as somebody hitting these sides. So, wait, there's no sides. There's only one side in the cylinder, right? On the outside. Okay, so watch this. If you want a little texture, let's add a little texture. You can do it with paint, but I'm gonna show you with the, because you know, you can't 3D print the paint job in an easy way or sensible way. So let me show you what I would do. So I'd go to the standard tool, I'd turn on stamp, and then I'd go down to this, the dots, okay? These little specks, these little dots. And I'm going to just hit it like that. Okay, and I'm gonna invert it so it like goes into it. See that? I'm gonna turn up the strength, and then I'm gonna do a square. You see that texture? Now I'm trying to keep it only onto this thing because I've already unionized the whole thing. Look at that. See how it has like weathering? It looks like it's been hit. Let's try it on here too. Look at that. Guys, look at that. That is cool. And yeah, make sure you get the outside. I don't know if that would print. It depends on the resolution that you're going for and the scale. The bigger this is, the better it's gonna look. It's gonna look amazing. But you can already see we have these weathering and these bubbling, I don't know what that's called, oxidation. This looks pretty cool for just slapping it together. You can see I'm a little off center here, but that's okay, I really don't care. But there is a very basic wood shield. And I know you can make it. If I can make it that fast, I know you can make it. I've showed you all the steps. It takes a little bit of time to get used to the flow. The workflow is basically all that's in the way of your imagination and popping out 3D models. You don't have to 3D print them. I just am a 3D printer person of choice. So I'm approaching it from a 3D printing product angle. And you don't have to. I think the majority of people using Shapelab right now are actually character artists and, you know, gaming asset designers and other similar types of polygon focused modelers. They're very concerned with how many polygons, so they would take this and they'd put it into another program like Maya or Blender or whatever, and they would, or ZBrush, and they'd redo the topology. They would retopology all of this because this is kind of a lot. This is a lot of polygons we're working with. So I hope that was helpful. I think that was a good job. I have a Patreon with similar assets like this, and I have a shield that looks just like this that you can add detail. I just showed you how to add detail. I have a very basic shield in there. You can go ahead and have at it. It's on my Patreon. I link it in the description below of all my videos. Have fun. I'll see you in the next video.